clerk's making copies, ready to bring out the jurors.
All rise. You may be seated.
Okay, let the record reflect that present in the courtroom are all 15 members of the jury, as well as counsel for the state, counsel for the defendant, and the defendant. Ladies and gentlemen, just before we broke for lunch, y'all were seated as the 15 jurors to hear this case. But like I mentioned before, we'll choose 3 alternates at the very end. We'll randomly draw those folks to excuse before 12 of you go back to deliberate. At this point, now that you were sworn before lunch, we're going to start with some preliminary instructions. The clerks are making hard copies of these, so you'll each have your own copy to put in your notebooks. For now, I'm going to put them on the big television. I'd ask that you follow along with me as I read these to you. Preliminary jury instructions. Before we begin the trial, I would like to tell you a little about what will happen during the proceedings. I would like to outline the basic process of the trial, including the roles of the attorneys, jurors, and the judge. At the end of the trial, I will provide you with more detailed instructions on how to reach your decision. For now, I would like to explain how the trial will proceed. The state of Tennessee has charged the defendant with violations of state law. The documents containing the charges is referred to as an indictment. An indictment is the formal accusation charging the defendant with a crime and is not evidence of anything. The defendant pleads not guilty to these charges. He is presumed innocent and may not be found guilty by you unless, after hearing all the evidence, attorney's arguments, and instructions of law, the 12 jurors seated in this case unanimously find that the state has proven its case beyond a reasonable doubt. The first step in the trial will be the attorney's opening statements. The state will tell you about the evidence it intends to present so that you will have an idea of what the state's case is about. This opening statement is not evidence. Its only purpose is to help you understand what the evidence will be and what the state will attempt to prove. After the state's opening statement, the attorney for the defendant may make an opening statement. Again, statements from attorneys are not evidence. Next will be the state's case in chief, in which the state will present its evidence. The evidence in the case will most likely consist of physical exhibits, documents, and witness testimony. The witnesses will testify by answering questions asked by the attorneys. After the state completes its case in chief, the defense will be given an opportunity to present evidence through witnesses and exhibits. A defendant is not required to put on any evidence or to testify. The burden is always on the state to convince you that a defendant is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. If the defense does present proof, the state may then put on what is known as rebuttal proof. After the state's rebuttal proof, the defense may present further evidence. After you have heard all of the evidence, the state and the defense may present final arguments. I previously told you that attorneys' opening statements are not evidence. Likewise, closing arguments are not evidence. In closing arguments, the parties will attempt to summarize their cases and help you understand the evidence that was presented. The final part of the trial occurs when I instruct you about the rules of law that you are to use in reaching your verdict. After you hear my instructions, I will excuse the alternate jurors, and the final 12 jurors will leave the courtroom together as a group. You will then begin your deliberations to decide the case. Your deliberations will be secret, and you will not be required to explain your verdict to anyone. Now that I have outlined the trial in general terms, let me explain the functions you and I will perform during it. I will decide which rules of law apply to the case. My decisions will be reflected in my responses to questions and objections raised by the attorneys during the trial, as well as in my final jury instructions. It is your job to determine what the facts are from the evidence. You must then apply the law in my instructions to the facts, and from that application, you will arrive at a verdict. The state has the burden of proving the guilt of the defendant beyond a reasonable doubt, and this burden remains on the state throughout the entire case. Keep in mind that the defendant is presumed to be innocent of the charges against him. Thus, a defendant is not required to prove his innocence, to have his attorney make any statements or arguments, or to produce any evidence. The court will not provide you with a transcript of the testimony at the end of trial. Therefore, you must listen very carefully to the testimony. You are permitted to take notes during the trial. You may take notes only of verbal testimony from witnesses, including witnesses presented by deposition or videotape. You may not take notes during the opening statements or closing arguments, or take notes of objections made to the evidence. You may not take notes during breaks or recesses. Notes may be made only in open court while witnesses are testifying. Your notes should not contain personal reactions or comments, but rather should be limited to a brief, factual summary of testimony you think is important. Please do not let your note-taking distract you and cause you to miss what the witness said or how the witness said it. Remember that some testimony may not appear to be important to you at the time. That same testimony, however, may become important later in the trial. Your notes are not evidence. You must not view your notes as authoritative records or consider them as a transcript of the testimony. Your notes may be incomplete or contain errors and are not an exact account of what was said by a witness. During the trial, you should not talk with any witness, the defendant, or any attorney involved in the case. Please do not talk with them about any subject whatsoever. You may see them in the hallway, in an elevator, or at another location. If you do, perhaps the best rule of thumb is not to say anything. You also should not discuss this case among yourselves until I instruct you on the law and you begin deliberating at the end of the case. It is important that you wait until all the evidence is received and you have heard all of my instructions on the rules of law before you deliberate among yourselves. During the trial, I may ask a witness or two a question or two. If I do, that does not indicate that I have any opinion about the facts in the case, or that I have any opinion concerning that witness's credibility. Finally, during the trial, I may need to interrupt the proceedings to confer with the attorneys regarding the applicable law. In some cases, we may have bench conferences in the courtroom outside of your hearing. And in some instances, I may ask you to retire to the jury room while we discuss a matter outside your presence. I will try to avoid as many of these interruptions as possible. We have tried to resolve some of these issues before we begin. I ask for your patience because these interruptions are necessary points in the trial where we must resolve legal issues. In the long run, they save time for all of us. I will now instruct you on specific aspects of the law. Crimes charged and pleas. The defendant, Jason Dockery, has been charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, 3 counts of especially aggravated kidnapping, employment of firearm during the commission of or attempt to commit a dangerous felony, and reckless endangerment by discharging a firearm from within a motor vehicle. The defendant pleads not guilty to these offenses, including any lesser offenses. Formal charge, not evidence. The indictment in this case is a formal written accusation that charges the defendant with certain crimes. An indictment is not evidence against the defendant and does not create any inference of guilt. Statements and arguments of counsel. Statements, arguments, and remarks of counsel are intended to help you in understanding the evidence and applying the law, but they are not evidence. If any statements are made that you believe are not supported by the evidence, you should disregard them. Jury, judges of facts and law. You are the exclusive judges of the facts in this case. Also, you are the exclusive judges of the law under the court's direction. You should apply the law to the facts in deciding this case. You should consider all the evidence in light of your own observations and experience in life. No independent research or discussion. You as jurors must decide this case based solely on the evidence presented here within the four walls of this courtroom. This means that during the trial, you must not conduct any independent research about this case, the matters in the case, or the individuals involved in the case. In other words, you should not consult dictionaries or reference materials, search the internet, websites or blogs, or use any other electronic tools to obtain information about this case or to help you decide the case. Please do not try to find out information from any source outside the confines of this courtroom. Until you retire to deliberate, you may not discuss this case with anyone, even your fellow jurors. After you retire to deliberate, you may begin discussing the case with your fellow jurors. But you cannot discuss the case with anyone else until you have returned a verdict and the case is at an end. I know that many of you use cell phones, the internet, and other tools of technology. You must also not talk to anyone about this case or use these tools to communicate electronically with anyone about it. This includes your family and friends. You may not communicate with anyone about the case on your cell phone, through email, iPhone, text messaging, through any blog or website, through any internet chat room, or by way of any other social media. Presumption of innocence. The law presumes that the defendant is innocent of the charges against him. This presumption remains with the defendant throughout every stage of the trial, and it is not overcome unless, from all the evidence in the case, you are convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty. Burden of proof general. The state has the burden of proving the guilt of the defendant beyond a reasonable doubt, and this burden never shifts, but remains on the state throughout the trial of the case. The defendant is not required to prove his innocence. Reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt is that doubt created by an investigation of all the proof in the case and an inability, after such investigation, to let the mind rest easily as to the certainty of guilt. Absolute certainty of guilt is not demanded by the law to convict on any criminal charge, but moral certainty is required, and this certainty is required as to every element of proof necessary to constitute the offense. Burden of proof, elements, and date of the offense. The state must prove beyond a reasonable doubt all of the elements of the crime charged, and that it was committed before the indictment in this case. Burden of proof, venue. The burden is upon the state to prove by preponderance of the evidence that the offense was committed in Anderson County, Tennessee. Proof by preponderance of the evidence means that the greater weight of the evidence must be in support of the state's contention. Venue of the offense lies in the county where the offense was commenced or consummated. If you find that the state has failed to prove by preponderance of the evidence that the offense was commenced or consummated in Anderson County, Tennessee, then you must return a verdict of not guilty. This completes my opening instructions to you. We will now proceed with the reading of the indictment.
True Bill, State of Tennessee, County of Anderson, 7th Judicial District, Criminal Division, Count 1. The grand jurors for the State of Tennessee duly elected, impaneled, and sworn, and charged to inquire in and for the body of the County of Anderson in the state aforesaid, upon their oath present that Jason Robert Dockery, heretofore, to wit, on or about September 12, 2023, before the finding of this indictment in the county aforesaid, did then and there unlawfully, intentionally, and with premeditation kill Shiesty Renee Mayberry in violation of TCA 3913-202 against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. Dave Clark, District Attorney General. True Bill, State of Tennessee, County of Anderson, 7th Judicial District, Criminal Division, Count 2. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee duly elected, impaneled, sworn, and charged to inquire in and for the body of the County of Anderson in the state aforesaid, upon their oath present that Jason Robert Dockery, heretofore, to wit, on or about September 12, 2023, before the finding of this indictment in the county aforesaid, did then and there kill Shiesty Mayberry during the perpetration of a felony or attempt to perpetrate a felony, to wit, the kidnapping of Shiesty Mayberry in violation of TCA 39-13-202A2 against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. Dave Clark, District Attorney General. True Bill, State of Tennessee, County of Anderson, 7th Judicial District, Criminal Division. Count 3, the grand jurors for the state of Tennessee duly elected, impaneled, and sworn and charged to inquire in and for the body of the County of Anderson in the state aforesaid, upon their oath present that Jason Robert Dockery, heretofore to wit, on or about September 12, 2023, before the finding of this indictment in the county aforesaid, did then and there kill Shiesty Mayberry during the perpetration of a felony or attempt to perpetrate a felony, to wit, kidnapping of Jensen Ray Crum in violation of TCA 39-13-202A2 against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. Dave Clark, District Attorney General. True Bill, State of Tennessee, County of Anderson, 7th Judicial District, Criminal Division, Count 4. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee duly elected, impaneled, sworn, and charged to inquire in and for the body of the County of Anderson in the state aforesaid, upon their oath present that Jason Robert Dockery, heretofore to wit, on or about September 12, 2023, before the finding of this indictment in the county aforesaid, did then and there unlawfully and knowingly remove and confine Shiesty Mayberry so as to interfere substantially with Shiesty Mayberry's liberty, accomplished with a deadly weapon, to wit, handgun, in violation of TCA 39-13-305 against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. Dave Clark, District Attorney General. True Bill, State of Tennessee, County of Anderson, 7th Judicial District, Criminal Division, Count 5. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee duly elected, impaneled, sworn, and charged to inquire in and for the body of the County of Anderson in the state aforesaid, upon their oath present that Jason Robert Dockery, heretofore to wit, on or about September 12, 2023, before the finding of this indictment in the county aforesaid, did then and there unlawfully and knowingly remove and confine Jensen Ray Crum so as to interfere substantially with Jensen Ray Crum's liberty, accomplished with a deadly weapon, to wit, a handgun, in violation of TCA 39-13-305 against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. Dave Clark, District Attorney General. True Bill, State of Tennessee, County of Anderson, 7th Judicial District, Criminal Division, Count 6. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee duly elected, impaneled, sworn, and charged to inquire in and for the body of the County of Anderson in the state aforesaid, upon their oath present that Jason Robert Dockery, heretofore to wit, on or about September 12, 2023, before the finding of this indictment in the county aforesaid, did then and there unlawfully and knowingly remove and confine Jensen Ray Crum, a person under 13 years of age, as to interfere substantially with Jensen Ray Crum's liberty in violation of TCA 39-13-305 against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. Dave Clark, District Attorney General. True Bill, State of Tennessee, County of Anderson, 7th Judicial District, Criminal Division, Count 7. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee duly elected, impaneled, sworn, and charged to inquire in and for the body of the County of Anderson in the state aforesaid, upon their oath present that Jason Robert Dockery, heretofore to wit, on or about September 12, 2023, before the finding of this indictment in the county aforesaid, did then and there unlawfully, intentionally, and knowingly employ a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony, to wit, especially aggravated kidnapping of a child less than 13 years of age in violation of TCA 39-13-305, in violation of TCA 39-17-13-24, Against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee, Dave Clark, District Attorney General. True Bill, State of Tennessee, County of Anderson, 7th Judicial District Criminal Division, Count 8. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, duly elected, impaneled, sworn, and charged to inquire in and for the body of the County of Anderson in the state aforesaid, upon their oath present that Jason Robert Dockery, heretofore to wit, on or about September 12, 2023, before the finding of this indictment in the county aforesaid, then and there unlawfully and recklessly endanger the general public by discharging a firearm from within a motor vehicle as defined by TCA 551103 in violation of TCA 3913103 against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee, Dave Clark, District Attorney General.
Are you ready for opening statement? We'll start with the opening statement from the state. Whenever you're ready. And from that list of options, that's circuit court.
Bring your cursor down. He shot her 6 times. Jason Dockery shot Shiesty Mayberry 6 times. He pulled the trigger 6 times, and all 6 times his bullet went through her body. The situation is they were in his car. As small red Chevrolet Sonic, a little hatchback. Dockery was driving, Mayberry was in the passenger seat. He shot her at basically point blank range inside that car. 5 times in the left side, every bullet went through and through, meaning it went into her and out of her as she was trying to get out of the car. It spun her around. The last shot hit her in the right side, through and through. Into the right, out to the left. 6 shots, all hit their target. And all went completely through her body. Now, the evidence is going to show that the passenger door was open. She was trying to get out of the car when he started shooting her. Okay, the evidence is going to show that there were no bullet holes in the passenger door. If a bullet goes through her and the door's closed and comes out the other side, it would hit that door. No bullet holes in the door, not the passenger window, nothing. One bullet hole that went through her body hit the B pillar, what they call the B pillar in the car. The evidence will show that that pillar is part of the frame of the car that the door closes onto and latches, and that's what keeps the door closed. Well, there was a bullet hole in that B pillar, but it went through that B pillar and did not hit the door. Because when you close the door, there's no bullet hole where it came out of this side and went through that side. That door was open. Shiesty Mayberry was trying to get away from Dockery, and he gunned her down. And then he fled and left her laying in the road, barefoot and bloody. Now, Jensen Crum was in that car, in the back seat in her car seat. Shiesty Mayberry's daughter. Not Dockery's, but Shiesty's. She was in that car and saw her mother get gunned down. The evidence will show that she was in that car when Dockery shot 6 times, killed her mother right in front of her. 6 shots from a 9mm semi-automatic handgun, ringing out inside a small hatchback car. So close to Jensen Crum that the evidence will show she was covered in gunshot residue. The evidence will show that one of the spent shell casings that ejected from the 9mm handgun landed in her car seat. And she was a year and 8 months old when this happened. She watched her mother gunned down the road and then had got the car sped off and left her mother behind, laying in the road with her in the car. Now, you'll hear from Shiesty Mayberry's mother. She's going to tell you that Shiesty had a drug problem. Okay? We're not trying to hide that. She had problems her whole adult life. She got addicted to pain pills and transitioned into methamphetamine and everything that goes along with that. Custody problems with her children. She still had custody of Jensen, though, at a year and 8 months. Okay? So, and her mother's going to tell you that Shiesty was trying to better herself. She was trying, at this time, she had an apartment, a little apartment in Knoxville for her and Jensen. And she was trying to establish a little home for them. But she did have problems. You're going to see the evidence will show you videos from the Super 8 Motel in Powell. The Super 8 Motel in Powell is where the three of them stayed the night before this happened. September 11th, 2023, in the evening, you're going to see videos of them arriving in Dockery's car, the red Chevy Sonic, and loading all their stuff, checking in, loading all their stuff into the room, spending the night there. And Dockery comes and goes a little bit. Shiesty didn't have a car or any mode of transportation, but Dockery would come and go in his car throughout that night and the next morning. Okay? And then that next afternoon, they checked out and left. They left the Super 8 Motel. One thing you'll notice when you watch the videos, and you can kind of see it here, the evidence will show that Dockery kept a black small backpack on him, basically on his side the entire time. That he'd come and go out of the room basically the whole time. He didn't take it off. I mean, he brought other stuff in, the backpack and a tarp and the evidence will show there was a big green duffel bag and all sorts of things, the car seat he brought in there. But as he came and went, he always had this black small backpack on him. Pay attention to that, that's an important piece of evidence. So they check out on September 12th in the afternoon. Now, down at the bottom, the evidence will show that that's where Shiesty Mayberry's little apartment was in Knoxville on Olive Street. Right up from that, the evidence will show that's where the Super 8 Motel in Powell was located. That's where they were on September 11th, and that's where they left on September 12th. And then they drove around for a little while. The evidence is going to show they wound up at that third red dot from the bottom, 260 Moores Gap Road in High School. 260 Moores Gap Road in High School is the home that was occupied, at least at that time, by Philip and Brielle Ingram. They didn't know Shiesty or Dockery or Jensen or that's where their house was there. Mr. Ingram was driving down his driveway, opening the gate, getting ready to leave in his truck when the red Chevy Sonic pulls up and comes to a screeching stop, and the evidence is going to show that he saw the passenger door open and he saw Shiesty Mayberry get gunned down in the road. Multiple shots. And his wife was up at the house, Brielle. She came out afterwards and didn't see all that, but she saw when Dockery took off in the red car. The evidence will show that he reached over, closed the car door, across the passenger seat, and fled. Okay? Look on up there, way up there at the top of almost at the Kentucky line there, that red dot that says White Oak Road Speedwell. A lady and a gentleman had a farm there at 261 White Oak Road in Speedwell. A small farm. The evidence will show he was running his bush hog. She was up there planting in her garden, and this red Sonic, the little red car pulls up to her property, into the driveway, says, "Hey!" A man sets out a car seat with a baby in it, gets back in the car, and tears out of there. Speedwell. She, checks on the baby, finds it, is concerned, calls 911. And then the evidence will show that In between that second to the top red dot and the red dot all the way at the top, somewhere along in there, a Claiborne County detective responded to the 911 call of the abandoned child. Be on the lookout for the red car. They didn't know anything about any homicide. All they knew was somebody, the evidence will show that that's the information they had at the time. Some guy in a red car set a kid out, took off. So they're looking for him. She runs into him, tries to stop him, he flees. Flees from the Claiborne County Sheriff's Detective. And as a chase ensues, a high-speed pursuit that goes all the way up into Virginia and goes through towns, and the evidence will show that it was very reckless and dangerous, and it got going so fast that the Claiborne County detective had to stop the pursuit for public safety and for her safety. That she couldn't chase him anymore. He was going so fast, over 100 miles an hour in that little Chevy Sonic, that the only thing that law enforcement could do was just back off. The evidence will show that law enforcement officers in Virginia, shortly thereafter, still on the evening of the 12th of September, located the red Chevy Sonic had been abandoned at 200 Pete Sumter Drive in Ewing, Virginia. That top red dot. A manhunt ensued that lasted almost 48 hours. Multiple agencies from multiple counties, United States Marshals, law enforcement officers from multiple states, and 2 days later, on September the 14th of 2023, some law enforcement officers in Union County, Tennessee, all the way back down here to that middle redwood, 1330 Maynardville Highway, Union County, received a tip that somebody that matched the description of the suspect who was the subject of the manhunt was walking down the road on the side of Maynardville Highway. So 2 officers get in an unmarked truck and to go investigate. They find him. They realize it's him. The evidence will show that they did a felony takedown on him. They surprised him, took him into custody, and that's when he was finally apprehended. So the evidence will show that when they found him, he had a small black backpack on him. And the evidence will show that inside that was the murder weapon, the 9mm semi-automatic with multiple magazines, extra ammunition, various other things. You'll hear testimony that'll tell you everything that was there, see pictures of it. You will also hear from the Tennessee Highway Patrol digital forensics analyst for the state of Tennessee, who took the OnStar system from the red Chevy Sonic and mapped the GPS coordinates of everywhere that Dockery went on the 12th of September 2023. So we'll see everywhere he went and how fast he was going and all of that. You'll get to see that evidence. You'll hear from the lead detective on the case, Don Sculia. He collected a tremendous amount of evidence in this case. You're going to get to see some of that. He collected the shell casings. There were 4 shell casings found. The evidence will show in the red Chevy Sonic. There was one shell casing found in the car seat he took DNA swabs of all sorts of the physical evidence. He took gunshot residue swabs of various pieces of the physical evidence. He interviewed Dockery. He Mirandized him and he interviewed him. You'll get to see some of that interview. Dockery admitted to shooting Shiesty. He didn't deny it, but he had an excuse. He said that she went for the gun, so he had to shoot her. I would submit that the evidence will show that is not a credible explanation for what happened. One document you will see says that Shiesty's 4'9". Another, her driver's license, she says she's 4'11". So she's, tiny. We know that the evidence is going to show that when he shot her, the door was open to the car. She was trying to get out. He didn't have to shoot her. In Voir dire, you heard him talk about, if I had to. He didn't have to shoot 4'9" Shiesty Mayberry. She was trying to get out of his car. He didn't have to shoot her 6 times. And it doesn't make sense that she's going for this gun, right? We know the evidence is going to show that he kept this black bag on him all the time, like it was glued to him. And we know the evidence is going to show that's where he kept the murder weapon. But now all of a sudden, he says in his interview that the murder weapon was somewhere in the car between the seats or something, and she grabbed it and the evidence is going to show she was trying to get out of that car, and he gunned her down. You're going to hear from the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, special agents, scientists. They're going to tell you that the shell casings that were found in the car and the car seat matched the murder weapon that was found on Dockery in his black backpack. They're going to tell you that the swabs that Detective Sculia took off of the defendant and off of Jensen Crum both had gunshot residue on them. They're going to tell you that the blood found in the car was a DNA match to Shiesty Mayberry, and that the DNA found on the trigger of the murder weapon was a DNA match to Dockery. You're going to hear from the medical examiner who did the autopsy and will tell you that the manner and cause of death was homicide by gunshot wound. You're going to hear from other witnesses, and they're going to link all this together for you. But at the end, we're going to ask you to find, beyond a reasonable doubt, that Jason Dockery is guilty as charged of all counts.
Red. We knew a lot about red. Especially the red car. You're going to know more about that red car
Dockery does not dispute that he, with a 9mm handgun, shot and killed Chester Gabriel. That's not in dispute. He was found with a gun on him. It was placed in his red car. That's not what we're here to decide. There's going to be a lot of evidence about it. You'll be asked to, critically analyze that evidence. But you're not going to hear any disputes from us that Mr. Dockery caused Chester Mayberry with the 9mm handgun. You can set that aside for a moment. This case is about what happened between the two of them. Days leading up to this event. During that short time in that car. You're going to hear evidence from the TBI, the Tennessee Highway Patrol, and tells you that that car was on Moorcamp Road where the shooting took place for about 30 seconds. That's right. Yes. This all happens very fast. You're going to hear that Jessica, or 18-month-old baby, is in the backseat of the car. There's nothing we can do to change that. That's happening. Don't know that a lot of noise in the car is charged in this stationary way. It's not kind of fun. It's just kind of a shock. For that body. It's got an element to the cry, first things like noise in the car. It's clear that those kind of shots kill Chester. There's no other cause of death. And Mr. Dockery, when he was apprehended by the police a couple days later, sat with the detective school and told them the same. He told them it wasn't worse. It was just in his arm. There was no, it wasn't me until they convinced him that they got the right guy. You can listen to his statement. You're going to hear his own words. He's responsible for his death. But you're going to have to make some other decisions that we talked about years ago. Just the cause for death is not the only element that the state has to prove. I know that, and the state brought up the argument is that their position is that she was gunned down. And that kind of gives you the connotation of just anger and hate and hunted. But you're not going to find the facts. You're going to hear this happening in an instant. They're together in the car, get in the car together, go away to the hotel in the car together. You probably even hear evidence that he left her at the hotel. Put all the stuff, left. She insisted that she come back and pick her up. Got in the car with him, with her daughter. Doesn't appear that this is something that she was afraid was going to happen. You see, clearly, this happens when he's on his red car. Now, you also hear, and we do not dispute that Mr. Dockery let us see. Just drove off, and he's still clear in the back seat. You'll hear evidence that he got a little ways down the road, maybe 45 minutes away. You'll hear from witnesses that he's on the phone with people. What do I do? The police are going to be after me. What do I do? The guidance of one of these people we talked to found someone looked like they were safe. He drops the baby off at the house and says, please take care of it. And he leaves, continues on his running away from the police. Certainly, I expect that you'll determine that he felt guilty for causing the death of such a man. Does that mean that he committed murder for a degree? Those are the things we're going to have to sort through in this case. The judge is going to read you a lot of instructions at the end of this, and it may be bigger than this by the time we get there. But there's a couple of things that I want you to pay attention to throughout the trial. The judge is going to talk to you about the different degrees of murder. Right? The state wants you to believe that because there were 6 shots, she was gunned down like she was hunted. This was premeditated. They're going to try to show the facts to support it. I don't think that they do. And I'm going to ask you to look carefully at those facts. The judge is going to instruct you about murder in the 2nd degree, voluntary manslaughter, the differences between those things. Okay? They're different mental states, like we talked about in jury selection. In the instruction, it'll tell you that there's a distinction between voluntary manslaughter and 2nd degree murder. And that's that voluntary manslaughter requires that the killing result from a state of passion produced by adequate provocation from the alleged victim, sufficient to lead a reasonable person to act in an irrational manner. I expect that the facts are going to show that here. That there was sufficient provocation, that Mr. Dockery's acts were the result of this provocation, and that he acted in an irrational manner when he caused the death of Shiesty Mayberry. There are also allegations in the indictment that you heard read about kidnapping. I'll wait to hear what the state's theory is about when the kidnapping starts and when it ends. I think that you'll see the evidence that Miss Mayberry is left alone at the hotel, that she insists that Mr. Dockery come back and get her, and that they leave together, apparently peacefully, and that they drive around for a short time and then suddenly this happens. The judge is going to talk to you about kidnapping, that the defendant knowingly removed or confined another, Shiesty Mayberry, unlawfully so as to interfere substantially with the other's liberty. Although the law requires no specific period of time of confinement or a distance of travel, a removal or confinement interferes substantially with another's liberty if the time of confinement is significant or the distance of removal is considerable. And I expect that the state is going to try to argue that the first step out of the car by Miss Mayberry is sufficient distance, and that time between the first step out of the car and the first shot ringing out is the substantial time. I know that you're going to use your common sense, and you're not going to find that. There isn't any other evidence that he confined her in any way that he forced her to go along. There is evidence that after shooting, he drove off, and Jensen was in the backseat. Now, you're going to have to try to determine in your mind, is he kidnapping Jensen? Is he just fleeing something that he feels like, oh no, I just did something really bad, and he had no intention of kidnapping Jensen? soon as, now, were there lots of other choices that he could have made? Sure. But we're talking about sufficient provocation to make someone act irrationally. And I think that you'll easily use your common sense to see that a lot of what happens in the car that day and what follows is irrational. So I trust that you're going to listen to the evidence. You'll decide whether there's 6, he shoots you 6 times, maybe 4 times, is it 5 times? Is that number, is that what causes you to include an intent? You'll have to decide. We talked about that when we asked you questions about the influence, and you promised that you would be open to thinking about what's going on in someone's head. How do I want to judge them? How do I match the actions with their mindset? Some of the actions lead you to believe one way, and some will lead you to believe another way. You've got to balance it. That's your decision at the end of the case. It's going to be clear that Mr. Dockery drove away, that he left Jensen safely at someone's house, that he then continued to drive away, that he was chased by the police, that his car was found in Virginia, and that as the map shows, they found him a few days later back in Union County, heading back in this direction, unfortunately. You don't hear that he had a shootout with the police or anything like that, and that he had the gun on his person. Those facts aren't really disputed. It really is about that red car. And did Mr. Dockery see that at that time? Thank you for paying attention. I hope that we can keep your attention throughout the trial. If for any reason at any time you need to take a break, rest, or whatever, please just raise your hand. I know the judge is going to let you do that. There's nothing wrong with that. We don't have 100 people waiting for us anymore. It's your comfort and convenience that we're here for. And I ask that you hold the state to their burden. The judge just read you this a few moments ago. See, the state is alleging that this is premeditated murder, that he gunned her down. I heard that several times a few minutes ago. They have to convince you beyond a reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt is that doubt created by an investigation of all the proof in the case and an inability after that investigation to let your mind rest easy as to the certainty of your verdict. It was described to me once that the reasonable doubt standard is not for the defendant. It's for you folks. So that when you get done and you go home at the end of this case and you lay your head down, you feel morally certain about the result you reached. And that's what that standard's about. Thank you.
State ready to call your first witness? Call David Dowling. David Dowling. Gentlemen, I assume none of these folks in the courtroom are witnesses.
Tracy's not here.
Nobody's going to call.
I should say her family.
So the rule is called for though, even if there were to be a witness in court.
It is.
Sir, will you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, thank you. Please come over here and have a seat in this chair for us. And speak into that microphone.
Sir, go ahead and state your full name for the record, if you would.
My name is David Michael Dowling Jr.,
And where are you employed?
Anderson County Sheriff's Department Director of Communications.
What do you do as Director of Communications?
I'm in charge of all the records and the people that work in the center,
And how many people work in the center?
15.
Okay, and what is the center's responsibilities, or what do you do as?
We process all emergency and non-emergency calls that come into the center for the entire county outside the city of Oak Ridge and the city of Clinton,
Okay,
for EMS and fire.
so effectively, if somebody calls 911, they call you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And your dispatchers?
Yes.
And how are your dispatchers, how do they keep that information that when a call's been received?
When we have a CAD system, computer-aided dispatch network, that we enter the calls in for service.
Okay. And so that computer-aided dispatch, that is, how is that kept or stored?
They're stored on servers at multiple places. We have backup server.
Okay. And is it your, are you the keeper of records for
Yes, sir,
the
I am.
Okay. And as far as the records are kept, you said that we keep CADs. Do we also keep the actual recordings of people?
We do audio record by law because monitoring the call processing and location correction, the information, make sure it's accurate, is required.
Okay, and that's part of your business duty as a 911 center?
Yeah.
You're keeping those records?
Yes, sir.
So if I were to call into 911 right now, you would both have what the dispatcher is going to do and tell people to do, and you would have the records of the actual audio of me calling in?
Yes, sir.
All right, and you know you're here today regarding an incident that occurred September the 12th of 2023?
Yes, sir.
And you were asked and subpoenaed here to provide information about 911 calls that came from 260 Moores Gap Road here in Anderson County, Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
And so have you, in fact, reviewed that as a result of receiving that subpoena? Have you reviewed the records of 911?
Yes, sir, I have.
And have you retrieved them for the jury to hear today?
Yes, sir, I did.
And have you retrieved the CAD to hear today?
Yes, sir, I did.
Or to see
To see
today?
it.
Okay. May I approach the witness? What I'm handing you, Mr. Dowling, is been marked for identification as exhibit number 1. You recognize that exhibit?
Yes, sir, I do.
What is that?
This is a CAD printout of the actual run card of the CAD incident.
Okay. Of this particular incident?
Right, it has all the notes and all the times, all the officers and everybody responding.
Okay. And so whenever an officer responds and it goes out over the 911 or the radio transmission, that's going to be documented in there?
Yes, sir, their unit number is added to the call, and it adds it to the record and keeps their times.
And is it important for your clock or your timestamps to be correct? at
Yes, sir, it
911?
is.
Okay. And you have a business duty to keep them accurate, right?
Yes, sir.
Because your job or your responsibility, you're on the line, right, for keeping the truth
Absolutely.
correct? Okay. I'm going to show you exhibit number 2. You see that that's a thumbnail? All right, I'm going to load it up, exhibit number 2.
Okay.
Okay, directing your attention to the screen, you see what's on this drive is the PDF of exhibit number 1, and then we have female caller Moore's Gap, shooting caller Moore's Gap, and Moore's Gap radio. Three different radio transmissions or recordings.
Yeah, I separated out the radio police radio traffic versus the caller, so if you just want to listen to the call, you can listen to it.
Okay.
And then we have radio traffic where the police, fire, and EMS was responding to the scene.
So as a police officer, a deputy, or say Deputy Seth Long, if he calls into dispatch and says, I'm on my way, or whatever he says, is that recorded too?
Yes, sir.
And that document would be the radio call traffic? We'll go ahead and just publish a little bit of that, and you tell me if you recognize that as the radio traffic.
Have a person shot, 206 Moore's Gap Road. Caller states that a red car drove past his house, dumped a female out, shot her and pulled off.
Is that in fact the radio traffic that we're hearing?
Yes, sir.
And that's 36 minutes long, right?
Yes,
According
sir.
to this? And so that's going to be all the transmission between the
With
police?
no dead time. I took the dead time of the airways, maybe 3 or 4 minutes before anybody says anything on the radio. I took that out,
Okay.
or it would be hours long.
Okay, and the jury will have that
Yes.
for their purposes. And now I'm going to look at the female caller, Moore's Gap.
911, where's the emergency? 911.
There's another person on 911 for the same issue.
Okay, it's okay, we'll let them take care of it.
Your Honor, I don't know if he's offered these exhibits in evidence yet.
I'm playing them for him so he can identify them, all three of the audio files, so that he can identify them, then I'm going to offer it in evidence and then publish the entire thing.
I think that's the procedurally appropriate way to do that, is play small portions and then confirm it.
I think you could have done that before now, but that's fine.
We can agree to the exhibit, we agree, move it into the evidence, and I'll just publish it as the 911 calls. Let me approach.
during the lunch break, we did get the white noise configured on the computer system. The clerk's actually prepared that out for us. No more possible? No more possible? No more possible. You're not the only one disappointed with that.
Okay, Mr. Galvin, so you see Exhibit 2, we just removed the actual audio file because you have a written file in Exhibit 1, essentially of what the audio was. So this Exhibit 2 will contain what we previously heard about the female, and then what the small thing is this.
Anderson. County 911, where's your emergency?
Someone was shot in front of my
Okay, you recognize that on there?
Yes, sir, I do.
Is that in fact an audio that you preserved for the purpose of this here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And is that the caller from 260?
Yes, sir.
We would move in number 1 and number 2 and ask the callers to be on the phone.
Okay.
I think the first one I played in its entirety because it's so short, but I'll play it again. Repeat, I'll call it. Publish that first.
911, where's your emergency? 911.
There's another person on 911 for the same issue.
Okay, it's okay, we'll let them take care of it.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll publish call, the other call on Exhibit 2.
Anderson. County 911, where's your emergency?
Someone was just shot in front of my driveway.
Someone was shot in your driveway?
Yes, there's
Do you know who the person is?
No. There's one other side of the road from us. 260 Morris Gap Road.
Okay, are you there with him?
I'm on the third one. There's a little red car. They've lost the brake cut. They're in a domestic dispute. And I threw it right out and they called me.
Past your house.
So what now?
A red car drove past your house?
Yes, and they locked the brake cut. There's a little red hatchback car. And a lady opened the passenger door and like jumped out and the guy driving shot her and took off.
Are you with the female now?
The mail lady pulled over. I'm beside the mail lady.
Okay, can you tell me if she's breathing?
Is she breathing? Is she breathing? She's breathing.
Is she conscious and alert? Like, is she able to talk to
Is she
you?
alert, conscious? No, she is not.
Where was she shot at?
Can you see where she was shot at?
Like, what part of the
No.
body?
It looks like the mid part of the body. I mean, I watched it happen.
Hold on just a minute, let me get the officer started that way, okay?
All right. I've seen it happen. I was coming down my driveway to check the mail.
I have a shooting,
Yeah.
you said the address is 2206 Morris Gap Road, correct?
206.
206. Restriction of travel was that car going?
Somebody shot her. I was coming down my driveway with that. I could see. Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Which direction did the vehicle take off?
They went down Morris Gap headed towards Clinton.
Toward Clinton?
No, that's a melody. She was in fact, yeah, went towards Clinton, Philippine group,
Philip, what's your phone number?
865-712-1521.
And she is conscious, correct?
Is she conscious, real?
I mean, can we tell she's breathing?
No, she's dead. I don't think she's
She
breathing.
passed away? Do you want to
I think so.
on her?
I seen her get shot. The police just got here.
The police are on scene right now?
Yes, they just pulled up.
All right, I'll let you speak to them.
All right.
as 1 and 2, Judge, would, if we haven't, move in as 1 and 2 and pass the written.
Exhibits 1 and 2 on the USB drive. Mr. Moynihan?
Thank you.
This Exhibit 1 is the CAD for this event. You described it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the information on this CAD report ends at a little before midnight on the 13th of September. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's not necessarily the end of the investigation,
Correct.
right? But that's just what you were asked to provide.
Correct.
Okay. Does it continue on with the same case number in your system? Or did you kind of...
If they do a follow-up, it'll have a new number.
A new number, okay. So every follow-up after this time period, this 2324 is a new number.
Unless they have us reactivate that card.
Okay.
And then it can be added to the same card.
All right, so the police decide whether that's going to happen or
Yes.
not? Okay. The timeline that's set forth in this CAD report, there's some indication that it's on UTC time. Is there some way that you've adjusted it so that we can understand what time it is?
No, I didn't change any time.
Okay, all right, so let me ask you if you could look at Exhibit 2, or I'm sorry, Exhibit 1. Have you turn to page 8. There's an entry, indicates Candace Atkinson is an employee of your center?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And there's appears like a timestamp. Is that timestamp associated with some event, or is this a timestamp that they have to put in periodically?
Looks like it was a ping of a cell phone.
Okay, so that's connected to a cell phone ping at somewhere out.
That will be my guess, I don't know for sure.
Okay, it doesn't indicate that in that entry though, right?
No.
Do you make that conclusion because of the longitude and latitude?
Yes.
Okay,
I don't have any idea what that light bulb is.
okay. And as you go through this, you see that happens numerous times, right?
Right, because we can set up an automatic ping to anytime the phone moves or just an update every 15 minutes to the carrier. We can get that through an email into our center.
All right, so you initiate the ping or is the police initiate?
We do, and it's from the center.
Okay,
It's a request of the officer.
all right. So an officer can say, can you ping this? And you have some way to go through the telecommunications companies to do a ping on the
But it has
phone?
to be in a life or death situation, it just can't be
Okay,
for random reasons now.
understood. There was a time where it could be for random reasons?
Yes.
Okay. And clearly this is a life and death situation,
Yes, sir.
right? Any of the notes in these entries are the notes that the 911 center entered, correct?
But if you look, I'm still on page 8.
Yep.
It says at the bottom, the third entry, ping request form filled out and submitted to Dish Wireless.
Okay.
So that would be the Dish Wireless return to our ping request.
All right. So, and you followed the procedure for that? All right. Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ray.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Dowling, you're free to go.
Thank you, sir.
Before you call your next witness, will you all approach? afternoon, ma'am. Will you please raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Please come up here and have a seat in this chair for us. Speak into that microphone.
Please state your name for the record.
Julie Crum,
And will you spell that for the court reporter, please?
Juliecrum,
Where do you live, Miss Crum?
Newport, Tennessee.
Okay. And will you describe your family makeup for us, kind of your current family tree?
Okay, currently, I live in my home with my 11-year-old granddaughter, and my 22-year-old granddaughter lives in the downstairs apartment. And then I have a 19-year-old granddaughter that lives outside of the home.
And were you married?
Yes, I was married, married young in 1982, and then divorced in 1987, and then I remarried in 1992, and then I became a widow in the year 2000,
So your,
2020.
what did your last husband do for a living?
He was a law enforcement officer in Cobb County for 39 years.
Okay. And you said you have some of your grandchildren living with you?
Yes,
Now, who are their mother?
that's Shasti.
Shasti Mayberry?
Yes.
Okay.
From
All right. Describe your relationship for the jury, please, with Shasti Mayberry.
name, have all of them.
Just go through it.
I had this beautiful dark-headed daughter, 1985. I wasn't in a good marriage, and I divorced in 1987 and raised her alone until I met my second husband, and we married in 1992. And then he adopted her in the same year, and we raised her together. She was a beautiful little child. She was the light of my life. I think at times she saved my life. I was in an abusive marriage, and I fought hard to keep her safe. When she became a teenager, she started experimenting with drugs and boyfriends. It seems like the biggest point was the boyfriends, sneaking out, you know. Now that I look back, that wasn't such a big deal.
You said that she started experimenting with drugs. When was that?
Probably around
15 years old? And what kind of drugs did she experiment with?
15. I really don't know at that time. I'm thinking marijuana.
Did her experimentation with drugs evolve
Yes.
over time? And explain that, please.
She had her first child in 2004, and shortly after she was born, we learned that she was on oxycontin, and so we were able to get custody of the first child. And then after that, it's like she was continuously being in bad relationships.
With men?
Yes. And then she had another child in 2007, and the baby was born positive for drugs. And so my husband and I got custody of that child. We actually brought her home from the hospital when she was 2 months old, straight from the NICU. And then in 2014, she had a third daughter. And we got custody of her right before she turned 2 years old.
Okay. When was Jensen Crum born?
She was born on December the 23rd, 2020,
And who was she born to?
Chelsea.
Okay, and who was the father?
We weren't really sure at the time. She was with someone, but he was not, his father was not put on the record.
Was it Jason Dockery?
No.
To your knowledge, did Jason Dockery have any custody of Jensen Crum? To your knowledge, did anyone have custody of Jason Crum other than Shiesty Mayberry?
No.
In September of 2023, did Shiesty have a vehicle or a way to transport herself at all?
Not to my knowledge.
How did she get around?
She lived in the city of Knoxville. She walked a lot. She had a stroller, and she was so proud of having a stroller. She fished jigs in a couple of different places. She loved to show her off. And she rode, I think she rode the bus some. But she really wasn't going a lot at that time unless someone gave her a ride. I wasn't knowledgeable of everything she was doing.
You said at that time she lived in Knoxville,
Yes.
in a house, apartment, or
Apartment,
Olive Street
Yes.
in Knoxville, in an apartment.
Yes.
How long has she been there?
Let's see. Probably, probably not quite a year, probably a few months before a year,
And who lived there with her?
just Jensen,
Jensen Crum? Did anyone else live there with her?
not to my knowledge.
Were you aware in September of 2023 that Shiesty Mayberry had some sort of relationship with Jason Dockery?
I was not aware from her. And by this point, she sort of knew that I didn't really want to know all about her relationships because I felt like the girls got invested into who they were. And
The girls?
Her daughters.
Okay.
And she had not told me about him. The only time that I was aware that there was somebody named Jason involved was I had got a text from someone claiming to be a Jason and telling me some bad things about Shasta that I was not aware of. I told him that I did not want to know anything like that unless it involved her or the baby's family.
I may approach the witness.
You recognize this? What's that?
That's Shasta. She went to a UT ball game this weekend.
And do you know approximately when that picture was taken?
No, I'm sorry.
Is it a true and accurate representation of what she looked like at or near September 2023?
Yes.
I'd like to move this in as an exhibit.
Any objection? Introduce exhibit 3.
If we could publish to the jury on the Elmo. Well, actually, they've already seen it, Your Honor. I can just show it to them. Approach the witness, Your Honor. Sure. You recognize this photo?
Yes.
What's that photo?
That's what you,
Do you know approximately when that was taken?
I'm assuming it was at the hospital after Shasta was murdered, because I don't recognize the person holding her.
Is this an accurate depiction of what Jensen Crum looked like on or about September of 2023?
Yes, sir.
Move this in as the next exhibit, Your Honor.
Exhibit 4, any objection?
Do
those to the jury?
Did you have any other children besides Shiesty? And are her daughters present in the courtroom today?
3 more.
3? Would you please point them out and name them?
Chelsea Beth is there with the blonde hair in the middle. And to the right of her is Juliana. And to the left of Josie Beth is Jane.
Would you please, to your knowledge, do you know approximately what Shiesty's height and weight was at or around September of 2023?
Yeah, she's about 4'10", probably weighing maybe between 100 and 120 pounds.
Okay. Your Honor, I'll pass the witness.
You indicated that in September of '23, Shiesty lived in Knoxville.
Yes, sir.
Was that Olive Street?
Yes,
Okay. Had you been there to visit?
yes.
At that time, did Shiesty have a telephone?
She had a cell phone.
All right. And did you pay for that cell phone?
I don't think so.
Did you get that cell phone in your name?
I don't think so.
Okay. Would something refresh your memory about that? Okay. Do you remember what the cell phone number was? No. Okay.
It's hard to really remember.
I appreciate that. And we just press their name on the phone, right? Okay. Could I mark this to identification?
Thank you. This is just...
You take a look at that. Start at the top there. Take a read through it, and then I'll ask you some questions about it. Not like a quiz, so don't be worried about that. Okay. After having looked through Exhibit 5, right? Does that refresh your recollection about whether you may have subscribed to a phone for Shiesty? Okay. All right. And is that the case, that you were the subscriber for the phone? Okay.
I was in and out of it. I ended up having to call and cancel it afterwards.
Turn it off, right? Okay.
I think I forgot that she was on the phone, so.
Okay. And does that help you recall what the phone number was?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And could you tell us that?
423-248-113.
Okay. Thank you. I'll take that back. So you've had custody of her first 3 daughters for quite some time now, right? So at least since 2020, right?
20, 2004?
2004? Okay, well right, the first one, and the second one was born in 2007.
Yes.
You took her home from the hospital. And then I think you said that the third daughter, and forgive me, I think they're all J names, but I can't recall them all. She was born in 2014, but she didn't come to live with you till she was 6 or 7? Is that-
Almost two.
Almost 2, I'm sorry. I didn't hear that very well. Thank you. And you live out in Newport, right, in Cock County? When was the last time that Shiesty lived in Cock County?
Probably January, February 22.
Okay. Did she live with you at the time?
She was just staying for a short time because the person she was living with, and she was fixing to be evicted. And she
Okay.
needed somewhere to live with the baby.
All right, so she had Jensen,
Yes.
and she was close to being homeless, and she needed a place.
Yes.
Of course, you weren't going to turn her away. Does Jensen live with you now?
No, sir.
Okay. With some family friend, or? Okay. And did, to your knowledge, did Jensen get harmed in any way, physically harmed in any way?
To my knowledge, she didn't.
Okay. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Any redirect?
Briefly, Your Honor.
Before you start, is that 5 for IDO, the phone record?
Yes.
Okay, you're going to leave that with the court?
Okay.
Defer that. Just so it's part of the record.
Yeah.
To your knowledge, did Shiesty stay in contact with her older daughters?
Yes,
Okay, and throughout the course of her life,
yes,
even though she was struggling?
yes.
Was there any point in time where you felt like she might be doing well enough to have them unsupervised?
Not yet. But I think she also had an understanding that they were going to be affected.
Mhm.
It never came up in a lot of years.
And the relationship between her and them, how would you characterize that?
It was good. It was nice that they wanted her to be a part of their life. They wanted her to have their special moments. They always loved her. They always knew her as their mom. I never tried to take the role of her mom, their mom.
Thank you.
You cross? No questions. Thank you, Ms. Cook. Here you go. And of course, welcome to staff. We call Philip English. Philip English.
Six, right, 6 and 7.
Good afternoon, sir. Will you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please help me come out of seat in this witness chair for us. And speak into that microphone, please.
Sir, could you go ahead and state your full name for the record, introduce yourself to the jury?
Bill Ingram,
And if you'd spell that for the court reporter, if you would, Mr. Ingram.
Phillipingram,
And where do you live, Mr. Ingram?
260 Morris Gap Road, High School, Tennessee.
Is that here in Anderson County, Tennessee?
It is.
Did everything we're getting ready to talk about occur in Anderson County, Tennessee?
It is.
What do you have a business there that you run out of Morris Gap?
I do.
Tell the members of the jury, what is it you do for a living and what business you run out of there?
I do excavation. I run an excavation company.
By that, you mean like bobcats and crawlers and diggers and things like that?
Those are track goes.
Okay. And do you actually run your business out of that?
I do.
So are the dozers and all that stuff, is that there at your house?
Yes, I know.
Okay. And so do you have another place or do you actually run and stay and that's your home base of operation for your business?
I have a place across the street
Okay. How long have you lived there?
since 2015.
Okay. And back in September of 2023, were you married?
Yeah.
To who?
Brianna.
Brielle Ingram?
Yeah.
And do you have any children?
Yeah. Open my heart.
You had children back in September of 23?
Yeah.
They lived there at the house with you?
Yeah.
Okay. And you obviously, Mr. Ingram, you know why you've been called here today, right?
I do.
Okay. You know that something unusual happened out on Morris Gap Road back in September of 2023?
Yes.
And you were an eyewitness to that? Okay, well, we're going to step through it. Obviously, the members of the jury need to hear what you saw. Do you recall that particular day that brought us here today, September 12th of 2023? Where had you been in the week prior?
I do.
Tell the members of the jury, where had you been and what brought you to September 12th?
We had just got back from our anniversary, we went to Harris Cherokee, and just got home. I was driving down my driveway, I had a jog going on down, like 3 houses down, and some guys over there working.
Describe your driveway and your layout of your property, if you would, for the jury.
I have 5 acres, kind of like a rectangle. My house is on the far end, and it's a very long gravel road.
Okay. You obviously maintain that driveway yourself with the equipment, right? Is it gravel driveway?
It is, but it's always in bad shape. It's
Okay.
what I do for a living.
How long of a driveway is it?
It's probably 500 plus feet.
Okay, and as you approach Morris Gap Road down your driveway, do you have fencing or any kind of containment there at the road?
I do. I have gates on it.
Okay, and how is that gate operated?
It's all mine.
How so? How do you operate it? How do you open it?
At the time, it was just by like little key chain clickers, but now it's all controlled by my phone.
Okay, so like you had a physical garage door opener type deal that, okay. And so you would have to operate that?
Yeah, with a key fob.
Do the doors stay open or do they stay shut or does it matter?
Yeah, I did have it, but they stay open unless I shut them.
Okay. And do you recall when you're coming down the driveway that day, you said that you're back from an anniversary trip. Where was your wife at this time when you're going down the driveway?
She was at the house.
Okay.
We were getting ready to leave though to go pick the kids up this week. They just got back to town.
Okay, so your trip to Cherokee, you did say Cherokee, right?
Yeah.
Hera, Cherokee?
Yeah.
Your trip to Cherokee, that was just you and your wife? Okay. And your kids, where were they at?
They were at her mother's house.
Okay. How far away is that?
That's like 2.5, 3 miles.
Okay. And what kind of vehicle do you drive?
At the time,
At the time, yeah, September.
I was driving a Toyota at the time.
Okay. And what about your wife? What kind of vehicle did she have?
She's either driving her FJ Cruiser or Nissan Armada.
Okay. And you're both leaving? You said you're going down, you're going to check on a job, and she's leaving to get the kids?
Yes.
Okay, and who is in front of who, or what's the order of the operations?
I already left, she is still at the house.
Okay. You had already left and started down the driveway? Okay. And it's obviously something unusual happened when you headed down the driveway that caused your attention?
Yeah.
Okay, and if you'd be very specific, what is it that alerted your attention there on Moore's Gap?
Well, I kind of start looking both ways when I'm heading down my driveway because my fence kind of blocks the view and the trees and stuff right at the pulling out. So I kind of go ahead and pre-look from a distance at cars are coming. And when I look to the right, there's a car turning on my road at a very high rate of speed.
Okay, by turning onto your road, from your property, you can see where a side road enters Moore's Gap?
Yeah, Peaceful Valley, Moore's Gap. I mean, I'm right there at the stop sign.
So you're kind of at the corner of where Moore's Gap begins?
Yes.
Okay. And you said it came at a high rate of speed?
Yeah.
When you said it was coming around the corner, was it coming towards you and then Moore's Gap, or was it coming from you, so to speak? Meaning?
No, it was coming towards me. It was turning off Peaceful onto Moore's Gap.
Okay. And what made you think? And you said at a high rate of speed, and that's probably pretty obvious to us. Tell us what you meant by that.
I didn't know if they were going to make the turn. They were turning on there so fast. It's like turning on a side road as fast as you can get it.
Okay. As fast as you could perceive that car was going, it was going?
As fast as that car could go.
Okay. Did you know what kind of car that was? Are you a car guy to know the make and model of the car?
I am, but that's not the car I'm interested in.
Okay.
It was a little red hatchback car.
Okay. Going as fast as it could go, okay? Have you, at this point, opened the gates to the bottom?
The gates were already open because we had just got there.
Okay, so you had left them open
Yeah,
because you knew you were coming and going?
yeah.
Had you made it to the gates by the time you see this car coming?
I was close. I think I might have been either right before the gates or right at the gates, and whenever I seen that, I kind of slowed down, but like I said, from the intersection to where the car came to a screeching stop was not much of a distance.
Okay, so what about the distance when you first perceive him? You said that they're to your right, you're kind of scanning for vehicles because you're getting ready to enter the roadway, and you see it coming around at a high rate of speed.
Yeah.
How far away are you from the car at that point?
Probably 500-600 feet. I would guess I got a direct angle from me to that from there.
Okay,
I'm
that-
taking the road.
Is that, by 500 feet, that's like the whole distance of your driveway?
Right.
Okay,
But I mean, they were turning on the intersection. I was almost to the end of my driveway, so I was basically saying if you measured from where I was to where they were at a straight angle.
understood. Okay, and what do you see the vehicle do?
They go down, they make the turn. It's like the e-brake was locked up, or they just stopped on the brake pedal, the car flipped sideways.
Fishtailed, the rear end of the vehicle came out from it?
Yeah, if I was thinking the e-brake was locked up, it's definitely a front drive car, so it's like it slid sideways from the e-brake being locked up.
Do you recall which, if you're talking about the vehicle and the rear end of the vehicle sliding, do you recall if it was the passenger side sliding or the driver's side sliding? Or did your mind just make that distinguishment?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to guess which one it was, I feel like it slid to the passenger side, but I could be wrong.
Okay. And you said that the e-brake had been applied, was your assumption?
That's what it seems like to me.
Did you hear it? Did you hear the squall or anything like that?
I heard the tires squealing.
Okay. As it stopped?
Yeah,
Okay.
there was smoke from the tires.
Okay. During the braking?
Right.
So swerving, smoking, and you heard the squall. Did the car come to a complete stop?
It did.
And when the car came to a complete stop, please be very specific about what you saw. What happened, Mr. Ingram? What did you see happen?
A lady jumped out of the passenger side. I heard yelling, arguing, and then going on.
You know what gunshot sounds like? Okay, did you handle guns, or are you a gun person?
I'm not really a gun fanatic, but I have handled.
But it's kind of a sound that you know.
Okay.
All right. And when that happens, when you see her out, you hear the argument, you actually hear the voices?
I heard voices. I mean, it was basically yelling or screaming.
Okay. At that point where the car had come to the squat, the stop, with the smoke and the tires and the sound and the yelling and all that, how far are they from you? Are you still in motion at this point?
No, I had stopped.
Why did you stop?
I was just from a distance. I didn't get all the way out to the road. I was real close, but I stopped because I was trying to see what was going on.
Okay. Alarmed you enough to, you braked,
Right.
all right? And at what distance are you when the car comes to the screech and the woman gets out and the shots are fired? How far away are you from that vehicle, from your vantage point where you're looking down your driveway?
I'd say, somewhere around 100 feet.
In this courtroom, would there be a distance inside this courtroom?
I'd say from corner to corner is probably like 70, 75 feet. I don't know.
Would you estimate a distance that is corner to corner plus a little bit
Yeah.
beyond that? But you were able to see the people?
I was,
Okay. And how did you respond to that when you saw that happen?
whenever I seen someone get shot, I called 911 and started backing up my driveway to see what would be next.
Was the car still there when you put it in reverse, if you recall chronologically?
Oh yeah, I was in reverse pretty quickly.
Okay.
Calling 911.
And you made that reaction when? What triggered that reaction to put it in reverse and
Well, someone was getting shot, and I'm an eyewitness. I don't know if he's sitting there or not, but I was going to back up my driveway at least.
okay. And so had the car, what had the car done by the time you were backing up the driveway?
Well, I put it in 4-level reverse that way I could take off without spinning on my gravel driveway. And the guy took off, and he kind of slowed down in front of my driveway. And I was looking, and he leaned over and shut the passenger door, and then took off. Okay.
When he leaned over and shut the passenger door, had he already advanced the car down the roadway, or was that simultaneous to the shots and the stopping and
Yeah,
the?
he had already drove, like, so my driveway's say here, and this happened right here to the left. And he took off and didn't put a stop, he just, let off the gas, slowly rolling as he reached over, shut the passenger door, and took off.
Okay. Could you see at that point when he's driving and shutting the passenger door, could you see at that point what had happened to the female voice you heard?
Oh, yeah.
You could see what happened to her?
I could see a lady laying on the ground.
Okay. And what was she doing?
Nothing.
Was she making any noises?
Not that I could hear.
Was she still screaming?
No.
And so you've described for the jury that you see him pull the the passenger door shut, and you use the pronoun him, right?
Yeah.
You saw him. Could you identify who the person was?
I could tell it was a male. That was all I could really see.
So you knew male and female. Could you tell race of the people, of the driver?
Not 100% from, it looked white, but it was also, inside the car. And,
But you could tell the gender.
yes.
Okay. And as you're backing up, you said you're calling 911 and you are continuing to back up the driveway?
Yeah.
All right, and when the car takes off, what do you do next?
The mail lady had just pulled up, and I'm on the phone with 911, and he took off, and I pull down, the mail lady like stops, which, you know, she's driving from the passenger side, so she pulls up almost to my mailbox. I pull up beside her, and, you know, she's freaking out, and I'm on the phone with 911. They ask me to ask if she's breathing. I walk over there to her, and she was not breathing.
So if you walk down the end of your driveway, and we're standing at your end of your driveway, if the jury is in Moore's Gap's in front of us, did the shooting occur straight across, to your right, to your left?
If you're standing at my driveway,
Looking out onto Moore's Gap Road, and our feet are on Moore's Gap, on your driveway.
yeah, be to the left,
The shooting would be to your left?
to the right, sorry.
Okay, and your mailbox, is it across the street? Directly across the street from your driveway?
Yeah.
And when you said a mail lady, you mean United States Mail?
Yeah.
Okay, in a mail truck?
Yeah, they drive around with you.
Okay. Like a Jeep type truck?
Yeah, she drives, like, they drive, high school's a union, so they use the
May I approach her?
Sure.
What I'm going to show you is marked as exhibit number 6. If you can take that, Mr. Ingram, and study on that, and then exhibit number 7. Take both of those exhibits and tell us if you recognize exhibit 6 and exhibit 7. What is exhibit 6?
A review of my property and surroundings,
Okay. And what is exhibit number 7?
a review of my property.
And that's number 6. On exhibit number 6, it actually says Google imagery of Philip Ingram Excavating. Is that your residence, Philip Ingram? And that's your business name? Okay. And this is an accurate copy of the map and layout where Moore's Gap is in relation to I-75. Okay. We put that in, it's exhibit number 6, an overhead map, and we've asked to publish.
Any objection?
No objection.
Okay. Entered into exhibit 6, permission to publish. Oh, I need to.